Newsfirst, Newsline.
Hello there, a very good evening and welcome to another edition of Newsline Live. We're coming, of course, to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. Elections are a long way from now. Although elections should be held, or at least we are in an election period, elections have been announced, but the date has been postponed indefinitely. But with everything happening here in Sri Lanka, one might feel a bit disempowered as to not being able to select their leaders, maybe even not being happy with what the leaders that are currently running Sri Lanka are doing. Despite when an election comes, I think we need to learn as Sri Lankans from our past and not just vote with rhetoric, not just vote for whoever seems popular at that time when an election is held. We need to be more informed. We need to understand who we are voting for. We need to understand the policies that we are voting for. And that is one of the reasons why here at Newsline we give an opportunity to all political parties to come on board and present their policies, their plan, their way out of this economic crisis that has been caused, of course, by successive governments here in Sri Lanka, and also not forgetting the people who voted for those successive governments. And today we've dedicated time on Newsline to the Chaturanga Abeysinghe, or the National People's Power Movement. We've got Chaturanga Abeysinghe from the NPP joining us today. Thank you very much, Chaturanga, for joining us.
Thank you.
So first things first, Chaturanga, now when we speak about the Chaturanga Abeysinghe here, one of the biggest concerns, at least, that I hear from close circles, other contexts in Colombo, the Western Province, let's say the financial capital of Sri Lanka, is the fact that the JJB is a socialist party, that the JJB follows these Lenin theories, Marxist theories, and they are really not right for the capitalistic system that has been set up here in Sri Lanka. And their main concern is that come a JJB government, or at least the JJB come to an influential position in government, the party will take Sri Lanka back years and years and try to reset things from the beginning, which I think on a balance of probabilities is pretty unrealistic. But how does the JJB respond to these concerns?
So I think these concerns were there with me also when I was young, because the learnings that we've got on capitalism, socialism, and in-betweens is very less as a society. So if you look at from the transformation in the human history, there was initially the primitive society, and then there was feudalism, and then the capitalism began. So in it was 800s where the Marx theory came into play. So basically, in simple, he said, accumulation of wealth by individuals to make more profits for them is not going to create a better society, in simple theory. Right? So he said this system is going to collapse, and there should be a better system which is more equitable and just, where the whole society is part of the wealth and everybody has a better life. That was a theoretical basis, right? And I think from that theory, the proven fact was that the capitalist system didn't work. In 1930, the Great Depression came, and world realized when the capital owners decides what needs to be produced, how it should be governed, how much should be paid to labor, and all those things, the system collapses, right? The stock market collapses. And then the world realizes, no, this is not possible. The market cannot decide everything. There should be some form of intervention by the state also. State means us, people. So there's people who has capital and who decides and creates businesses, production, everything. They decide on the market, and there should be some form of influence from the government.
Regulators.
Regulate four things. So it's called Keynesian economics, right? So people need to understand. So Keynesian economics said, no, the free market will remain, the capital the intention of capitalists will remain, but however, let the government also intervene in full employment. That means the full utilization of resources. Let the government intervene in labor reforms, ensure that the labor also has a fair deal in the pie. And they also said, let's government get control or provide public services, right, so that it becomes much fairer and equitable. And they said, let the government also regulate in certain areas. So those were the 4 main interventions. It's called the New Deal in 1950. Every whole world decided on it, right? And I think most capitalist countries who had that, the capital deciding everything that needs to happen, they moved into Keynesian economics. And the development took place in the world, and if anybody want to read the history, the development from 1950 to 1970 is far greater than the development from 1970 to today. In 1970 onwards, the neoliberal economics came into play. So neoliberal economists, they basically said, no, this is not the right way to go, we should go back to the old system, that the market should decide everything and government should, play a passive role. And the developed nations by that time actually adopted these concepts and they continued their economies. And there were certain countries who did not adapt all these neoliberal economies theories, they continue to have a government intervention. So it's a strike between whether the state or the people intervening in market versus the market becoming fully free, whether it can create a just system. So if you really look at the world now, as you correctly said, the world has embraced the capitalist system, which currently termed as neoliberal economics, and the world has not gone in the right direction. The inequality has grown, the super rich becomes richer, and the environment has, environment is dying, where the world has come into a fix where the sustainable goals, which was published in 2015, is not attainable. Now let's first agree that the way that we are going, even we like it or not, it's not working, right? So then if you take the development theories, there are only 67 developed nations, so you need to understand this. Now even how much we talk about this development, the developed nations are like $2,000 or more above
per capita income,
right? And out of this, Shalan, half of this, or mostly like, probably 40% of them are states who had accumulated capital through colonialism, right? They had the capital,
right? And
the rest of the countries are who came through a system or economic process to win the world market,
right?
The Chinas, the Vietnams, the Indonesia, Singapore, Japan, India. So these are the countries who didn't have a colonial background, but they came onto these three. So today's the world, there is no far right, neither a far left, right? So this fear of communism is that the history we know of Russia, I mean that's the most known communist country.
Maybe China also in the mix.
Well, yeah, in terms of a governance system, right? The state tried to superimpose communist way of living, right? Collective, and we are happy with minimalism. Now actually the Europe is moving to that side, because when people have satisfied their needs, they understand the best way of happiness is minimalism, right? There is no greed. They don't want to own things. They go do and meditate, right? So this greed, the basic concept of capitalism, is getting broken in the most developed nations. So from theory, it will move from primitive society to capitalist society, socialism to communism. That we do believe. One day there will be very smart, intelligent people who is less greedy, who will be happy with the facilities that's around them and kind of live a happy life, right? So anyway, in this whole process, these socialist reforms has been adopted by all the countries now. So you have the capitalist system, to balance it off, you have socialist reforms, that is like free education, free health, government regulation. So there is no simple free market in the world. Government has decided what needs to be produced or what can be produced and how much it needs to be produced. There is a certain level of control in the market, right? So from Jatika Jana Balavege, we are very clear, we are going to take the path of the development path that any country took, right? What is it? It's basically figuring out what are our competitive advantages and what are the things that we can export, what are the things we can produce. We will have a national plan to support that. South Korea has done it, Singapore still does it, India does it, Vietnam does it, China does it. They have a mega plan for the country. And then public enterprises will do this. We are very clear, very openly I am saying the country's economic engine will be public entrepreneurship and SME sector. State is going to support this enterprises and entrepreneurs, and state will provide what? State will provide the infrastructure, low cost base of manufacturing. So there are certain things that then the state has to get involved, like fuel, energy and technology, so that we can provide it at the lowest possible cost. And then state will intervene at two places. One is the energy market and also the financial market.
Right.
Why? Because we don't think the oligopolies, private oligopolies can make a fair outcome as we see today since yesterday, right? So, and then the state will also look at the essential goods. So, if the essential goods cannot be provided by the free market at a fair rate, government will intervene. Those are the two places Jatika Jana Balavege will intervene from a government perspective. We will focus heavily on supporting the entrepreneurs to win the world with a national interest and a government responsibility. Today government is not responsible for businesses falling apart, but we will be responsible. If you have a target, we will go there, and if we can't achieve the target, you can take us off from the vote. And we will focus on education, because that's the only path that Sri Lanka can take to create more value to this country. We will focus on efficient government management, right, because it's not inefficient now. We will very much focus on international trade, the markets that we have not penetrated yet, and we will have a very strong foreign service to support our entrepreneurs and enterprises to win the market. And I don't think anybody should be scared of that kind of a plan. And we are the only party who says our manifesto will made law after we win. No other party says that, right? So then if you have any doubt,
you can read the manifesto.
You can read the manifesto, and if there's anything that you dislike, we also presented our framework of economy in January 23. If you don't like anything, you can talk to us and figure this. There's nothing to hide. And JVP has transformed heavily in terms of letting go of this armed struggle. They are now, I mean, for the last good 30 years, they are very much focused on parliamentary power and democracy. It's very comfortable for people like us to come in. Second, they have taken a very open path on the economic reforms to say which areas they will intervene and why. And this is the exactly same path Vietnam is taking, South Korea has taken, India is taking, likewise. And also don't get confused about the economic model and the state governance model also. Now we have dictatorship in capitalism, we have dictatorship in communism, right? We have open, like fully free market on one side, we have a government intervened market in another side. So we are not really, we are very much openly saying it will be a democracy. There will be parties contesting, we will be in power, you can vote us out, and there will be an economy that is a mix of the best of the capitalist world and the best intentions of the socialist world.
So recently, while I was on social media, of course, I need to put this question to you, Chaturanga. There was a post that was circulating of this bus halt that was built, of course, embodying maybe several communist symbols, if you will, and it carried a caption saying, you know, the JJB and the JVP are still not in power. They have a little bit of extra public support, and this is how they plan on running the country. This is what you can expect under a JJB government. Now, I don't know about the authenticity of this post. Has the JJB looked into it? I mean, it's not
so
a huge deal.
we also saw it on the Facebook. So basically, in a village, a youth group, there was a person who believed in communism and, you know, who has been reading and preaching about it.
Who's not a part of the JVP?
Well, I think he would have been a supporter, right? Not part of a member. So he has passed away. So the friends, in name of him,
in his
memory, created the symbol he liked. And this is, don't get scared of this symbol. This symbol is representative of the working class. Still today, you and me are labor. Charlotte, you don't have to, I mean, we can't be shy about it, right? We get paid at the end of the month. We are labor. And I am very intrigued to see that the Sri Lankan executives do not celebrate the May Day. It's not a communist thing. It's a actually it happened in US. The collective bargaining and the fights and the rights of the working class. So it's a farmers is a symbol of, you know, the Akatta, and the Mitya is the Kamkaru. So today you can replace it with a, you know, computer and something else, but we are still providing labor.
Maybe a cup of coffee.
Yeah, right, because we still provide labor. Right, so basically you don't have to get scared of it. It's an international symbol to represent, and still it's being used. And mind you, there are labor parties in the world. And New Zealand Labour Party, the party that you guys loved with Jacinta Ardern, right? That's a communist party historically. And they are a left-wing party. So there is left-wing and there is right-wing. There's nothing to worry about, because the intent of a left-wing party is a just society. We don't believe that, you know, accumulating wealth to few people is not going to make a just. And there is acceptance across the world that the capitalist system can be benefited through a public intervention. So don't worry about these things, and we have been kept everything clear and transparent for you. And also, if you have real doubts, we are not a party now, Shala. NPP is now a public organization that can, you know, anybody can, you know, be part of. It's a people's movement. So you can be part of the people's movement, so that you can reduce your mistrust as much as you have. So if you still have a bit of a doubt, and if you live around Colombo, give me a call. I'll come and have a coffee with you or a drink.
So Chaturanga, moving forward, of course, Sri Lanka's, so just to be clear, the picture that, of course, maybe your opponents, people who really don't support the JJB are trying to paint, or are of the impression of, is that the JJB will you know, haul back all of these capitalistic policies, but none of that is going to happen.
No. What do you, the problem is that you still use the term capitalistic policies. There's no capitalistic policies, right? There's a market. And in that market, NPP is driving for economic democracy. Would you don't like it? Economic democracy means every person has a right, and if they have the will to become an entrepreneur. Don't you like it? Today it can't happen, right? If you have accumulated capital at your home, you can start a business. And if you are known to a politician, you can get a loan. But if you are a genuine entrepreneur who has nothing in your hand, there is no opportunity for you to make a mark in the market. So NPP is very keen to say, we are driving for economic democracy. And if you don't believe us, right, if you don't believe what Chaturanga says and all that, go and read. There's a huge amount of content about new economic movements, right? Alternative movements to capitalism. What is the problem with neoliberalism? And be very clear, capitalism and neoliberalism is different. Capitalism is the intent of the market to accumulate individual wealth. That is how the society will work. That's
paramount.
That's there, right? Neoliberalism is basically saying state should forget about it. State should move out. That is not working. That's why the global economists are writing against neoliberalism. And they also put a fine print to say, I am not against capitalism, because they know this neoliberal system.
There is a misconception.
This neoliberal system is killing the world. Where after they moved out of the Keynesian, and then the world is, people are improving. People are getting away from greed. As you grow, as you become wealthier, after you consume things that you need, you get more into minimalist lifestyles. You try to be simple. That's what the world, that's what the real development of a society would look like. But world is moving there, and we believe world is moving there. And socialism is the path from that to a better society, equal society.
Yes, but of course, this is not pure socialism, because people, there are those who propound the argument saying that under a JJP government, the people's way of life, I think that is what has really broken down with the economic crisis, with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the complete breakdown in governance here in Sri Lanka. It's the people's way of life that has been broken, damaged, and hurt the most. So there are, sentiments that are going about in society saying that, people's ownership of land will be affected. These kind of speculations are still...
I think that's, they are trying to figure it out from a Russian experience. Even in school, when they talk about socialism or communism, they give example of Russia, which broke down trying to superimpose ideology into public. It doesn't work, no. So if you are in a democracy, and if people don't believe in that, we are also not there to do anything like that. But what's happening now? You are getting taxed heavily. Is it a socialist government that's there, Charlotte? People are suffering, and they are also paying tax, and nothing comes back as education. Nothing comes back as health. There's no opportunity to do business. Is it a socialist system that exists here? Right? No, right? So it's a matter of how a state will run an economy, and how we will give opportunity, and very clearly say we don't have a worry about wealth creation. We don't have any worry. There's a fair tax. There was a fair tax. Now there's unfair tax. When we come, we will ensure that is reduced for the working population. That is at currently goes up to 36, right? And also we will ensure you have your opportunity to accumulate wealth, but you pay the fair tax, and also enjoy the benefits of public services. You haven't ever enjoyed it. You are paying for your education, you are paying for health, you are paying taxes, you are having your own transport. You are spending the money that you could have grown in savings or investments in consumption due to these governments. When JJB comes, we will ensure you save more. We will ensure your tax money is coming back to you as education, so your child does not need private education, right? So that's how it's going to reform, and we have no problem with people who has money, as long as that money is created in a just way.
Chaturanga, just one question from, of course, one of our viewers, and it's a question coupled with a statement, aren't these all speculation? Looking back at them, which is, I think, referring to the JVP, what can we expect from them?
So two things you can expect from us, which you never had. So one thing is a new political culture, where the politics becomes a public interest beyond personal interest. That I can guarantee you, Shal. Second is, you will see an economic reforms which most of the developed nations, recently developed nations, has taken place. Very well crafted, industry driven national plan with priority industries. We have figured out 6 industries, and that will be done by the industry, and the government will be part of it. Education policy that facilitates that growth, a tax system which is fair and transparent, an efficient government, and also a globally connected Sri Lanka, right? And if that is what you want, and if you are absolutely sure that it's not going to happen through the current politicians, you will have to take a risk if you are worried, right? There's no change until you make a risk, and if you still feel uncomfortable, talk to us, and we are very open.
So Chaturanga, we're in the final few minutes of the show. Just one last question. Those in government right now, be it the UNP, the SLPP, and even the major opposition, the biggest opposition, the SJB, they are of the view that given the crisis that the country is facing right now, we need a person with experience, a person who has done this before, a person who has at least been a prime minister or a president or held a ministerial position several times over to get this country out of this rut. How does the JJB respond to that?
We don't have anyone now. So for Ranil Wickremesinghe is running the 47th year in politics, and everyone else. And so that criteria is over now. So we don't have anyone, simply, right? So then you have a choice of JJB supported by professionals and intellects. Probably you can say it was what Gotabaya also did. But it's the difference is that the intent of politics is different. And we have a team, and Anura categorically says, I am not the expert in everything, but I have an economic and a social vision. The party has economic and a social policy, and we will get the support of everybody who would like to contribute, and it will be a collective effort. So there's no single person in this country single-handedly can make that change as executive president. You need a better team and people support. You can't just vote and sit back. You have to come to work at 8:30 or 8 o'clock. You have to wake up dreaming of the industries that we would wake. You need to talk to your children about the potential industries Sri Lanka can. We are not doing it. We need that hope, and we will bring that hope.
Thank you very much, Chaturanga Abeysinghe from the Jatika Janabalavega, or the National People's Power Movement, for joining us on our program. Thank you very much, of course, to all our viewers out there. And of course, given the current situation in the country, it's of paramount importance. And I think during my 9 years at Newsfirst and during my several years of hosting Newsline, I have made this humble request from the general public several times, and I myself seem to have got it wrong. But we need to vote right. We need to vote for a person, or at least a policy, that will bring Sri Lanka out of this mess once and for all. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you again, same time, same place tomorrow. Take care and God bless.